I am back again, y'all. This is part two of the narcissist and passive aggressive breakups. So, hopefully, you have tuned in to part one. If not, tune in to part one. And I just couldn't let this situation go. So, I just think that there's more that I have to say about this because of the pain and misery that's involved in these type of breakups. Because at the end of the day, and in this situation, this example was about a male. And for any of y'all that view my videos, of course, you know that I use real live examples. I talk about psychopathic women, psychopathic men. I do some of the commentary that I do on crime cases that are interesting to me that I think would educate you also. So, for anyone that views my channel, or if you're new coming here, I talk about real live examples. And in this case, this example is just about a narcissistic man or a man that also could be a narcissist, because this is what an actual narcissist will go through too. And at the end of the road, it's just misery. That's what it totally involves, is misery, because after so many breakups by women, in this case, I'm talking about the women being passive aggressive when they discard or begin the breakup with the narcissistic man. And it's just a miserable, lonely ending. Because, see, at the end of the day, I mentioned the example in this case with my friend that has the current girlfriend, and he mentions it's an on and off relationship, like all narcissistic relationships. It's on and off, on and off. But she's beginning to do the discard. And see, in this case, my friend, he doesn't have biological kids. And he went through a lot with his mom being narcissistic. So it's like he wants to be more empathic in these relationships, but because of that narcissistic part of him that he inherited from his parents, he's just unable to go in all the way, because it's almost like he's never really fell in love for real. That's another thing with men that are narcissists. They won't just let themselves fall in love. They always got to have this piece that they're holding back from the woman that won't let the relationship go forward. And I'm telling you, I saw it firsthand when me and my ex narcissist broke up, and I passively aggressively discarded him. And see, when a woman passively aggressively discards a man like that, what she's doing is she's plucking out feathers, right? So, like, okay, that feather gone, that feather gone, and then he don't even realize that he ain't got no more feathers no more. So he's outside in the cold, featherless, freezing, because feathers for birds is their heat, their cover, if that makes sense. That's how they stay warm, okay? And survive winters and stuff like that. So, by me being empathic, I don't think it's fun looking at them going through misery. Even though you might feel like, okay, well, he deserves that or whatever, it's just very, very hard to witness. And with this particular friend of mine, we're not in no relationship or nothing. So he's not angry with me. It's just that I love him as my friend. And you got to remember, if I'm doing this channel, don't you think I help people outside of this channel for free? Like, how did I get to the point where I feel comfortable enough to even talk about things on this channel? I've been helping console people for years. And what I do when I love somebody, I see the destruction coming. He knows that when he told me during the pandemic that he felt miserable, almost like a depression, kind of like he might be in some state of depression, right? Or in some stage of depression, because it becomes depression when it's like an ongoing sadness, but he sounds miserable now. And there's some things he could do to kind of help with that, kind of like a sad management, where you're kind of learning to control the sadness. But the first thing he would have to do is get out of the relationship that he's in. And if I talk to him again, I may let him know. I will. It's not may. I am going to let him know that she's passively aggressively discarding him, so he can be aware of what that is and why he might be feeling like extra bad. And she knows how to do it. She's actually, it's kind of like a reverse psychology. Like he say, he don't want to be with her and her daughter everywhere they go. And that's escalated because it's not his daughter. He doesn't really, out of all the women with kids that he's been with, as far as I know, one of the things he's never done is like taken on the role of their dad or stepdad. He doesn't take on that role. He doesn't really have a invested interest in the child. And one reason that is, y'all, is because he wants his own kids. And that's completely understandable. And the other woman he was with that had the son on him, when she was passively aggressively getting out of the relationship with him, she wanted to marry him and have kids with him. And he didn't want that. And see, that's another thing about when a man is acting narcissistic, he doesn't want it, but then he also is in a lot of pain when you get what you want. So he didn't want kids with her. This was the other woman he was with, but he was very hurt and heartbroken when she got pregnant and had her second son. He was in a lot of pain. And that particular woman, her first son that she had was by a married man. Okay? And I'm not judging that. I'm just letting you know the situation. Because she might have already met a narcissist. That's why I'm bringing that up. And that's another thing, when these empathic or narcissistic women are doing these passive aggressive discards or breakup with narcissistic men, they've already sometimes had an experience with a narcissistic man or a man that was a full-blown narcissist. So that lady might have been up on top of her game and knew how to get back at him because her first baby daddy was a married man. Okay? So at the end of the day, and in part one, I used the example of how it even played out when I did it. And the reason I did it, I knew what I was doing. Okay? I was pissed off at that man. I was tired of that man playing games. And I said to myself, I'm going to get him. I'm not going to get him by doing nothing to him, but I'm going to teach his ass a lesson. And I actually was around long enough to see the result. And when I say it broke the man down, it broke him down. And he didn't see it coming because he had all of these stereotypes and views, and he wasn't thinking ahead. I could see ahead. For one, okay, I was able to analyze this. How do you take care of yourself? That's one of the things I look at. A lot of people, and you could call it vanity or whatever, but my ex, I've noticed, okay, you dressing nice or whatever, but he stopped taking care of his body in the way that he used to. You know, we always talk about how much weight women got on them and when women gain weight. However, it don't look no much better or a whole lot better when a man start gaining a bunch of weight neither. And that's not his norm. You see what I mean? So I could see signs of depression. My ex, he had moved to a different place. I mean, it took a toll on him, and age played a part. Remember, my ex narcissist was a lot older than me. And when I say a lot older than me, y'all, I mean he's over 10 years older than me. And I understand aging out. I understand a man hitting the wall. I understand what do you call it when men go through, they say some men go through a midlife crisis. Also, ain't no man gonna be as happy as he should be taking addictions into his aging out process, if that makes sense. And I wasn't fully happy at first. However, the difference between me and him is I don't need the supply. And that's where the empathic person is always going to win the game. Even right now, I don't need him or no other man. It's a blessing to have it, but I'm not addicted to the supply, if that makes sense. I'm more creative. I don't have to hunt down for another man or hunt another man down. I can just do these videos and I'm happy. I can just clean my home, continue to raise my family. I know how to let it go. I know how to accept that it didn't work. However, with the narcissistic man, because of that control element, they struggle with just getting over it fully and getting out of that miserable state because they still want to keep the control. My ex narcissistic man couldn't even get over the fact that he couldn't come in my house no more when I moved. Man, we broke up. If you wanted to come in the house and be a part of the house, let's get married. But they don't want to do that. Let's build a serious relationship. You start acting more empathic like you a team member around here. But narcissistic men, they don't want to do that. They don't want to do really nothing to change the relationship, no compromise. They just want to keep on doing the same thing, thinking that it's going to work out better, and you already are in a troubled relationship. So yeah, those passive aggressive breakups that empathic women do to narcissistic men is pretty bad, y'all. And you know what I just thought about? I wonder how many men have committed suicide due to that. I wonder how many men that actually had more than just narcissism, where they were psychopaths or sociopaths, actually killed the woman because she was doing a passive aggressive breakup or discard. And he just couldn't take it and it got up under his skin. It doesn't make it right that he killed, but a lot of people, they're just able to do it, you know. And you hear with a lot of these cases, you also notice that the woman that got killed, they weren't saying that she was violent with the man at all. She had done nothing violent or offensive, but maybe she was just indirectly showing that passive aggressive behavior, and he just snapped and went off, almost like how the men do the murder suicides. However, you got to be wise and smart in this. I mean, if it's a passive aggressive breakup, like I said, in my case, I didn't let my ex in my home anymore. I mean, you're broke up. Why are you here? If you wanted to be around so bad, you should have kept the relationship. And and in my case, I can remember even when my sons were going through like this runaway phase and wanting to try to do what they want to do and go through that phase and stuff. I could remember my ex narcissist. He was like, "Yeah, I saw your sons and they walked past me and they didn't even speak." And so even my sons was passive aggressive with them. But I'm thinking to myself, well, you didn't want to be their stepdaddy. And see, kids remember stuff, y'all. My sons knew he didn't really want to go in full blown and be their stepdad and be married to me. And so that hurt my ex narcissist. He was like, "Yeah, I saw the boys. They looked me right in my face, knew how I was, knew who I was, and didn't speak. And I know they saw me." And I'm thinking, they just did the same thing to me, and I'm their mama because they going through this stage where they're under this peer pressure and they think they big and bad and want to run the streets. I mean, they was right around the corner from the house. It ain't like they was far. So I was walking right past them and not speaking. Kids and teenagers go through phases, y'all. However, that was something I straightened out with my sons. I'm like, I was just telling one of my sons, if you ever seen him again, just speak. This was a man that was in your life that brought you gifts, gave you rides. During the times my car was broke down, let your mama use his car. I mean, he did do kind deeds. That's the thing, it's not about the kind deeds. Narcissistic men can do kind deeds, but the emotional trauma that they bring in their relationships, whether the woman got kids or don't got kids. I mean, he was in relationships. One woman passively aggressively broke up with him and she didn't have any kids. And I think he mentioned that she was in like a big old house alone. That woman suffered from like depression or something like that. It was a pretty sad story he told me. But another thing, narcissistic men, they also kind of are hurt that you didn't act the same way the ex does. Like it didn't end where I just stayed in no state of misery and depression. I just moved on. I didn't stop getting my coffee, my tea, my chocolate, my water, my vegetables, my fruit. I didn't stop doing none of that. I just moved right on. I didn't stop taking care of my skin. I went through my sad moments, but overall, I was able to conquer those moments in general because it was a passive aggressive breakup. I did the breakup and discard without being aggressive and excessively angry, if that makes sense. And just seeing how my friend is going through it now, and he even mentioned that he was miserable during the pandemic. It's just so sad. Men, more of y'all need to start going celibate too. Especially if you're not going to commit to any of these women. Especially if you just narcissistic and you do have empathy and you're able to be hurt and shut down. And basically, it's like a narcissistic injury. That's what's happening. You're being injured. And men that go through this over and over, and they're really not accomplishing their life goals, they're really not getting in any better physical shape. A lot of them are not really taking care of their health. I mean, how many of these situations where these men don't even know what their blood pressure is? How much do they weigh? A lot of them gaining weight and don't even realize how much weight they're gaining. When the last time they went to the dentist? Some people ain't been to the dentist in 5 years, y'all. I mean, that's a long time to not be getting your dental hygiene taken care of. I mean, that's just like ridiculous. But it's just so many different elements to this. And a lot of times, okay, if the woman is doing an aggressive breakup and she just acting crazy, like I said in part one, the man is going to feed off of that. Narcissistic men, that almost gives them like a happy energy. Because narcissistic men, and I've seen it with my ex, they enjoy seeing the woman act up and watching her angry, because that makes a narcissistic man, or a man that's a full-blown narcissist, that makes him feel like that woman's going down. But when a woman does it in a passive aggressive way, oh, it almost like kills his soul. That's almost the closest that a woman can get to a man's soul. I've seen it for myself. I've seen it for myself, and it's just horrific. And at the end of the day, the narcissistic man is not going to do nothing to fix the problem. I mean, a lot of women, they let him back. Like if I let that man back, he probably would be worse than he was before. It's just no purpose in it. Because you don't really have nothing in common. I mean, this is a double-minded man. He don't really fully know what he wants. He wants the relationship when it first starts, but at the end of the day, he don't want to be married to any of these women. He's too selfish. That's the whole point of this. Once a woman that has empathy decides to be passive aggressive and break up with a man and be kind of mad at him indirectly, she's doing it to a selfish soul. So she really don't have no regard for somebody that's selfish. I was raised around a lot of unselfish people. So you don't have no respect for that level of selfishness. Especially when people are going to treat kids kind of funny or ill will. I mean, you don't want to be a stepdaddy. Stop dating women with kids. Start there. I would respect that more about a man. And then a lot of these men, they don't have their own biological children, and they don't want to be a stepdaddy because they don't want to be with a woman with kids. But then they jealous of you because you close to your kids. You can't win for losing. They got a jealousy / hate / selfishness. They got so many different emotions going on with this situation with a woman with children. And at the end of the day, like I told y'all in part one, that woman that's raised kids has too many skills that she can use through intelligence to really hurt that man. Because it's all just wrong. Just date women with no kids. And in this particular situation, not with the man I was with, but with my friend that's been in my life a very, very long time, since my kids were very, very small, how can I word this? He doesn't really have, and this is out of his own mouth, a lot of the women that he would like to go for, say some of the women without kids, they're turned off because he has not accomplished enough financially and doesn't have a lot of the freedoms that they would require. So it's kind of like he would rather maybe be with women without kids, but he doesn't qualify because he's not independent enough. He just doesn't have certain freedoms. They may want him to have transportation. They have these demands and requirements of him that he can't meet. And it just doesn't work out for him, basically. So, what he's able to pull in usually is women with kids. And it's unfortunate. My thing is this: whether it's a man or a female, I don't like to see nobody in a state of misery. It's just uncomfortable. And I would rather see, especially anybody that's a friend of mine that's been in my life a very long time, I would rather see them healed and in a state of peace and contentment. And and like I said, this gentleman, he has definitely a lot of empathy. He's helped me heal too. But I've always been that empathetic soul that's given him the right advice, warned him. And when men are narcissistic, they just don't listen to what you're saying. They just have their own mind set up or their own mind made up. I apologize for that. And they're just very hard headed. And what's that quote Albert Einstein said? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And that's what's happening to a man. Let me say that once again. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And I think I came up with I did a quote many months ago. I think I wrote it down somewhere. I did one on insanity where I thoroughly, I think I uploaded it on one of my videos of my version of insanity. I could have swore I did. Yep, I did. In one of these videos somewhere, I did my version of insanity. I sure did. I don't know if I named it that, but it's been probably over a year ago. I don't know where that video is, but I said something to the effect of when you know right from wrong or when you know better. Now, I don't remember, but at the end of the day, when a man, a narcissistic man or a full blown narcissist, continues to go through passive aggressive breakups, and he's not the one doing the passive aggressive breakup, the woman is, he falls in line with the Albert Einstein quote. He's just insane. He's insane. He's doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And for men that have a religion where you're not supposed to be fornicating and stuff like that, that's your best bet. Follow your religion. It's almost some karma in not following the religion because you have the answers right there. It's telling you not to sleep around with women that's not your wife. You're not supposed to be doing it anyway, especially if you're claiming to be a religious man. And my friend that's going through this situation with this breakup, he claims to be a religious man. So in his religion, he's not supposed to be sleeping with nobody he's not married to. So he's bringing on his own trauma and karma by continuing this behavior. However, I just thought of this video. I didn't know it would end up being part 1 and 2, but I'm on this exercise bike. So if every once in a while y'all hear a little noise, I'm on my bike. I'm moving my legs slow so that I'm not making too much noise. But at the end of the day, I saw it firsthand. And if I could ever say I saw a man go through a lot of pain when I broke up with him in the passive aggressive way I did, I can say I witnessed to it. Did he deserve it? Did he bring it on himself? Yes. That's the side effect of playing games with people. That's the side effect of thinking what goes around can't come around. Did I had a heart to continue to play with this man, to continue to be passive aggressive? No, because I'm empathic. I can't sit there and just torture somebody, because for one, that can backfire. That's how people get killed. So I just left him alone in his own misery and addiction and all of that stuff he was going through. I also protected myself too from being his caregiver if he got sick. Like I said, he was an older man. So I'm also protecting myself. I'm protecting my kids. Who wants to wipe somebody's ass that never wanted to marry you? And that's what happens. A lot of girlfriends are getting stuck with these men. They didn't want to marry them. They really don't want to be a stepdaddy to your kids. But now you and your kids is wiping his shitty ass. And I'm telling one of my sons, go get your stepdaddy's diaper, because I didn't get out of this shit soon enough. I didn't put myself in that situation because I had foresight. Because you got to look at a person and how they take care of their health. Oh my goodness. I just thought of another situation. A gentleman, he's 55 years old. He was one of our kind of like maintenance workers. Like if we needed side jobs done for our house or apartment, moving, you could pay this gentleman for anything. And he's with a woman. She's 31. He's 55. He just had a stroke, a horrible stroke, not just a stroke. He had a heart attack first. And while he was having his heart attack and they were doing the surgery, he had a stroke. And this woman, 31, they've been together since about 2016. They have one son together, which they had in 2018. And basically, she's taking care of this man. He's suffering from all the side effects from the stroke. And she's 31 years old. They got together when she was what? In her early to mid 20s. And it's no different than being with her daddy. And they always talk about, and he didn't look like nothing was wrong with him. And I forgot that he even had like a drug history in the past. Yeah, and when he was on drugs, he said his heart used to go out on him all the time. Like he would have, his heart would stop on him when he was abusing drugs many, many years ago. And I forgot that gentleman even had that past. And I talked to him about, let me see, over a week ago, because he was asking to borrow some money. And like I said, that gentleman, he used to help my family because he had a moving company slash, what do you call it, like a handyman type company. So yeah, I'm bringing up that example because that was a situation I didn't want to be in. Having to take care of a man that really didn't want to be really in my life for real. And that's what you got to really think about. You got to process it through logic. And at the end of the day, how does the love work at the end of the day? I don't hate anybody. And definitely not my ex narcissistic man. I don't have any grudge or hatred towards him. If I had not have been with him, and that wouldn't have been my last narcissistic relationship, and him acting narcissistic, I wouldn't have a lot of the experience that I have that I bring to this channel. I wouldn't be able to talk about this right now. I wouldn't be able to share this. So I wish him well. He's also the same man that told me he knew he was going to hell for sure. I pray to God he don't go to hell. I don't want to see my worst enemy enter hell. However, that ain't up to me. That's up to the Lord. The Lord is who places people in a heaven and hell. I can't do that. And that's one of the things my uncle told me before he died on a phone conversation, when he said he ain't got no hell or heaven to put nobody in, and neither do I. So I don't wish harm on anybody. And I also don't wish harm on my current friend that's going through this. However, when I have a chance to have another talk with him, I'm going to let him know that these women are breaking up with him in a passive aggressive way, and it's causing him a lot of harm. Because at the end of the day, I don't give up on people, y'all. When I love somebody, I don't give up on people. And I actually don't like when I give advice and somebody don't follow it, and I see the pain that they go through later, because it's a buildup. And that's why I refuse to keep entering these relationships, because you don't have to destroy your entire life. You just don't. And that's another thing with my ex-narcissistic man. When I did that passive aggressive discard or breakup, and remember, a passive aggressive discard or breakup, that takes a little time to do it. That's not something you just do in one day. It's like you steadily picking at somebody. However, my ex-narcissist, he did the same stuff to me. You know, it's almost like when a man does that to a woman, he's teaching her how to do it too. And see, that's why that stuff backfires. It's just like the chronic cheater, the narcissistic chronic male cheater. And next thing you know, your woman out here half naked cheating too, bringing her boyfriend to the door. You know, what they used to say was good for the goose is good for the gander. I don't believe in cheating and all of that. Just get out of the relationship. But that's a form of a passive aggressive breakup too, when a woman does that. Because it's like all along, he was the cheater and he was the narcissist, but now she's walking around doing it too. And better at it. Sometimes the women are better at it. Because she able to walk around with her fake booty and fake breasts hanging out that she done paid for. Or sometimes the ex-narcissistic man done paid for it. But now she showing off the fake booty and breasts that he done bought and showing it to another man. It's just all one big nightmare. However, I'm going to end this video on this note by saying I know this for sure. I know that passive aggressive discards and breakups by women upon narcissistic men and men that are actual real narcissists bring a lot of harm and misery to those men. And we just gotta all get our lives right for the Lord. And the best way to avoid all of this stuff is to stop having sex with people we don't want to be with. And a man is capable of doing that, y'all. Despite what you hear on YouTube, men don't have to cheat. Men don't have to be non-empathetic. Men don't have to hurt people and other women intentionally. It's all preventable. But the main way to do it is through having a better relationship with the Most High. And that goes for the empathetic women too. Even narcissistic women. Just get your life right with the Lord. And just move on from there. I love y'all so much. Thank you for tuning in on this video. I've been on this video almost 40 minutes now. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I will forever appreciate you. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.